Yes, I have all of them, and I'm gonna do every single one in this video. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh my god, I got the right puzzle. That was so hard. I really thought I had that. I thought that was so fun. Oh, that was a fun one. So this is my annual video of solving every single puzzle from Worlds to see where I would have placed. With Worlds coming up again in about a month, I thought it was finally time to go back and do all the puzzles that I didn't do at the competition. So these are all of the puzzles from Worlds 2024. And this might be the last time that I do this video, but I'm gonna talk more about that and the upcoming Worlds at the end of the video. But for now, let's start with the quarterfinal puzzles, starting with the infamous wrong puzzle. Which one is it? Wait, I got the wrong puzzle. So to all of the TikTok commenters out there that were just like, oh my god, you're such a Karen, you should have just solved the puzzle. I'm finally doing it, okay? Are you happy now? All right, so this is the one where Kristen finished in 26:56. That was the first time that anyone had an under 30 time for an individual puzzle at Worlds. And I looked at the rest of the results, and every single other person in the top 10 was in the 30s. That's really fast. This is also my first time solve. I've never done this puzzle before, so let's see how this goes. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go, okay. This time it's not the wrong puzzle. This time it's the right puzzle. All right, so I finished this flip at 3 minutes 45, and I separated the edge because even though I looked at the footage where Kristen did it differently, I tried to solve it the way that I normally would. You know, for my first time solves, I tried not to be too influenced from the strategies that we saw at Worlds. So here's where I was at 10 minutes, and I used some of those inside pieces to help with the red edge. And at 11.5 minutes, you can really see just how much faster Kristen is speeding through it. It took me another 3 minutes to finish the teal building, and then I went back and forth between the rest of the buildings and the pink and orange boats. So at 21:50, look at this, Kristen only has the sky left, and I have much more than the sky left. Again, I spent the next couple minutes jumping around, and I did feel like I was going relatively fast. But here is when Kristen finished. So it took me another 10 minutes to finish the bottom of the puzzle and move up to the sky. And then the sky took me 5.5 minutes. And I do want to note, it took Kristen exactly 5 minutes, so almost the same amount of time. Although hers included the edge, while mine did not. But I love a good gradient sky, so I liked this puzzle a lot. 42:17. Oh my gosh, I think that's really good for a first time solve. I think if I do that again, I can definitely get it down into the 30s. Okay, I just pulled up the results, and Clearly, I was nowhere near Kristen's 26 minutes, but 42:17, 19th place. I think that's pretty good. So I definitely would have made it through to the semifinals. But I really do think that I can get it down to the 30s. So I might try this again. All right, second time solve. I feel good about this one. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so for my second time solve, I decided not to do the entire edge. I did it more in the way that Kristen did by starting with all of the houses. And for these quarterfinal puzzles that were previously released, I wanted to do them twice because a lot of the competitors said that they had done this puzzle before, but I didn't do them directly back to back. I waited a few days in between. I also moved out to the living room to get some natural light and some fresh air. So at 15 minutes, you can really see the difference in my strategy. I don't think I jumped around as much. I really committed to each section that I was working on. And I think that's because I was more familiar with every section of the puzzle, and I knew if I should expect it to be easy or difficult for me. So on my second attempt, I made it to the sky at about 32 minutes, so I was definitely a few minutes ahead, but the sky actually took me a little longer the second time, so I only ended up about 2.5 minutes faster. All right, I got it into the 40s. Just barely. So I'm gonna do a full analysis on my first versus second attempts later in the video. But first, it's time for the puzzle that still haunts me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm actually gonna do this again. I honestly considered just skipping this one for this video because I already did it in the competition. You guys saw my time, but I'm a completionist. I want to do all of them. So I am gonna do this one again. So this is gonna be my second time solve. And this time I am a little bit familiar with the picture. Unlike the first time when I thought this one would have been too hard and I didn't even bother looking at it at all. And also, we're gonna find out my time if I go into it calm and not right after not knowing what's going on and getting a puzzle thrown at me. So I am gonna do this one, but actually, before I get started, I am getting a little bit hungry. I think it's time for lunch. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for lunch. Speed puzzling makes me so hungry. But before I dig in, today's video is sponsored by Factor. Now, I was never a competitive athlete growing up. I mean, I was never any kind of athlete. In gym class, I would play volleyball as if it was dodgeball. And so, speed puzzling is the first time that I've really had to think about sports psychology and strategies and how external factors can affect your performance. And so obviously, one of those factors is the food that you eat. I don't think it's any surprise that when I eat nutritious and well-balanced meals, I feel more clear-headed and more energetic, which obviously leads to being a better speed puzzler. And so, as someone who doesn't like cooking and doesn't want to go to the grocery store that often, I love that Factor delivers pre-cooked, ready-to-eat meals straight to your door. Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. I have to have a bite. Let me just have a bite and then I'll do the rest of it. Oh, that's really good. There's literally no work required besides deciding what you want to eat that day. You just microwave it for a couple minutes and you're ready to go. So that is a lot of time that I would have spent meal planning, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning. But now I use that time to practice more speed puzzling and to edit all these videos. Plus, I love that you can go online and look at the weekly menu with pictures of every single thing. So you decide exactly which meals you get, and I've never gotten a meal from them that I didn't like. So if you want to try it, you can go to factor75.com or click the link right down below and use code 50puzzles to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50puzzles at factor75.com for 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Okay, I am so hungry. I'm gonna eat this entire plate, and then I have a lot more puzzles to do. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. I wonder which one it is. Wait, I got the wrong puzzle. I got the wrong puzzle. Okay, you guys have to have known that I was gonna do that. I will never let this die. Okay, for real this time. Oh no, I don't wanna solve this puzzle. I was so focused on making that joke at the beginning and now I'm like, ugh, now I have to solve this puzzle. It's fine, we have Postcard from Paris next, and that one's fun. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh my god, I got the right puzzle. It's the right puzzle. Okay, so for this one, I'm playing it alongside my competition solve from a year ago, and I have it synced up to my adjusted time after the whole wrong puzzle situation. So both times I finished the edge at just about 8 minutes, so it's very similar at the beginning. But then at 15 minutes, this time I didn't pile all of the sky pieces inside, but the actual pieces I've placed are, again, very similar. And then, jumping ahead to 30 minutes, I haven't finished the whole sky, and I actually think I'm falling behind my first time solve. But by 41 minutes, it seems to have evened out again. This is the point where Veronica won, by the way. But then, the middle of the puzzle is super busy, and I really struggled the second time. It's close, but I actually did do it faster a year ago in the competition. Oh my gosh, that might have been even slower than the first time I did it. That was so hard. I am not a fan of this puzzle. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it wasn't just, the mix-up at the Last Worlds. This really is a really hard puzzle to speed puzzle. And I forgot to look up what my original time was, so I really don't know. I think that might have even been a little slower. So that would have got... Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, so my original time was 53:57. So I was 2.5 minutes slower doing it this time. Well, that's fine. That's an outlier. We can just put this one away and never speak of it again. Never solve it again. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to do an easy puzzle. So the next one is Group C. They got Postcard from Paris, and this is the one that everyone knew was definitely showing up. So a lot of people had practiced this one, including me. So this is actually going to be my 4th time solve. However, in all 3 of the times that I've done it, I haven't managed to get it under 40 minutes. So that's going to be my goal for today, is just to do it in under 40 minutes. And if I do that, that would get me into the top 10 from Worlds last year. Although, just a caveat, last year at Worlds, this was at the end of the day, so the dome was starting to get a little more dim. They just had the overhead lights instead of the sunlight, whereas in here I have bright studio lights, so the lighting is a little bit different. And since this isn't a first time solve, I actually already went back and I checked what order Kati did it in to get her 26 solve time. Okay, so she started with the orange flower and the pink circles. Then she moved to the bottom corner with all of the green dots. Then she filled in the rest of the outside and the Eiffel Tower. And then of course she finished with the white background. All right, I think I can do this in under 40 minutes. I'm really excited to try this one again. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So since I had done this one before, I decided to put my 2 new solves right next to each other. The first time, I decided to use Kati's strategy and I didn't do the whole edge. But the second time, I did go ahead and do the edge. And even though I had done this one before, it had been about a year since the last time that I did it. But the thing with this puzzle is it's easy to get ahead of yourself. Since each element is so distinct, you can pick up almost any piece and immediately know where in the puzzle it's gonna go. So I would keep trying to sort one thing and then get distracted and recognize something else and start sorting that. So I think the key with this puzzle is to stay focused and not jump around every time you recognize something new. So at 20 minutes, my second attempt for this video is definitely going faster. But at 26 minutes, this is when Kati finished, and I'm not even close. But as I finish it up, you can really see that I was much faster doing it for the second time in just a couple of days. Oh no, 41! I was so close. I really thought I had that. That felt really fast. I did it! I got it under 40 minutes! Okay, I'm really happy with that time. So that was the first time that I would have made it into the top 10, but we still have 3 more quarterfinal puzzles still to go. All right, it's day 2 of trying all the individual puzzles from Worlds. Today, I'm gonna try to do all 3 of these. So this is round D, round E, and round F. And I want to say a huge thank you to Turtle for loaning me these 3 puzzles, as well as Flowerjungle, which we're gonna get to soon. It turns out you just can't get this one online at the moment, and I didn't have these 3, so Turtle really saved this video. But okay, first we're gonna be doing, what was this one called? Hello Vinyl. This is the one where I was actually commentating for this round, so I talked a lot about this one in theoretical terms. Today, it's time for me to actually solve it and, see how it actually goes. If you remember from the footage, pretty much everyone started with the blue record, so I feel like that's what I'm gonna do. The rest is getting pretty busy, so I think I'm gonna be looking at the box quite a lot. I would say a 45-minute solve for this one is something that I would be happy with for myself. So let's see how this goes. I got this. All right, in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so for this one, I did a truly crazy thing. I decided to sacrifice some audio quality and I turned on the air conditioning. The day before, I was just really overheating. I also pulled my hair back, so it was kind of getting in my face the day before, so I was really trying to give myself the best chance possible to get some really good times. So for this one, I did the entire edge and the blue record, and I finished all of that at just under 16 minutes. Then I tried to pull any patterns that I recognized, but I was looking at the box a lot for this one, since there are so many little bits of things that are scattered all over. So I felt like I was going relatively fast, but here's where I was at 34 minutes when Mercedes finished. After that, I got in the rest of the colorful pieces, but then at the end of this puzzle, you end with the glass cups and the really dark black pieces. So it actually gets surprisingly hard right at the very end. All right, just like I said, 45 minutes. I'm really happy with that. Okay, I liked that one a lot more than I thought I would. I never thought that I wouldn't like it, but I thought that was so fun. And I really think since it's so busy and there are so many different patterns across the whole thing, I really think I can get the time down significantly on a second time solve, now that I'm a lot more familiar with where everything is placed and what the hardest sections are going to be. All right, sure enough, here are my first and second attempts next to each other. This time I did the record and then the edge, and I was about a minute faster than the first time, but this is where I really sped up. Since I had already done it, I knew where each element would go in the frame, so I spent a lot less time looking at the box the second time, and I knew which elements would be easier and which ones would be harder, so I didn't really get stuck on anything since I specifically did the easier ones first so I could work off of them. So by 30 minutes, you can see that I have a lot more already filled in, and by 33 minutes, I made it to pretty much just the black and tan pieces left. So this one was almost 5 minutes faster the second time through. right. Well, I think that was definitely an improvement. So here are those results. And it turns out a lot of people finished in the early 40s because in just 4 minutes, you jump from 24th place all the way up to 9th place. All right, so I'm going to take this one apart, and then it's time for Spy Family. I learned after posting the Worlds video that you don't say Spy X Family. The name of the show is just Spy Family. I still haven't watched it. I still don't know who any of these characters are. This one was a little bit harder than a lot of the other ones, so I feel like I have an advantage going into it knowing that it's going to be a fairly difficult one. And also having looked at this image, because since this is a branded puzzle, nobody was expecting this one to show up. And so I think most of the times from the results were first time solves, and also solves where most people hadn't even looked at the image at all. So even though this is also my first time solve, I know what I'm getting into, I know the general layout, so I do have a little bit of an advantage here. All right, here we go. Hopefully I'll be out of here in under an hour. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so this one is probably the one I was most curious about. Besides the red logo at the bottom, I wasn't really sure where to start, so I did most of the edge, and I realized that there is a gradient on the background, so it gets darker towards the bottom, which really helped to make this one easier. But since I don't know the characters, I was going off just pattern and color. So I saw that the gold detailing was only on the 2 people at the bottom, and obviously the pink hair really stands out. So I started with those. I finished the hair at about 26 minutes, but I'm definitely going slower than I was with the easier puzzles. So then I was really just looking for unique colors like the trench coat or the dark green coat. And this is where I was at 37 minutes when Gisela finished. Now, she said that it wasn't her first time solve, but even still, I'm pretty far behind. So I was looking at the box a lot. It was kind of a struggle, but I finally got there in the end. Oh my gosh, I made it in just under an hour. Look at that. So I'm gonna say something that might be a little surprising. I didn't hate that. I kind of liked it. Even though it took a long time, I thought it was fun. I think if I did it a second time, I could get that time down significantly. That being said, I do think that if I had gotten this in the actual competition, I would have been extremely stressed out. I don't think I would have liked it as much in that situation. Okay, this one might be the first versus second attempt that I'm most excited to see. So I did the entire edge this time and I finished it at 11 minutes. And then I made a whole lot of little piles since I knew where in the image each person would go and I knew which parts would be easier or harder. Like, the pink hair was kind of hard to just jump into, so this time I filled in more of the characters around it before I filled in the hair. I also did a lot of the faces a lot earlier, since I knew red glasses guy would be at the top and the old guy is over on the side. So at 30 minutes, you can really see how different my strategy was and how much further along I was the second time. I mean, to be fair, it's still not an easy puzzle, but the girl in the middle went together pretty fast, so did the girl on the side in the pink jacket. For some reason, I had more trouble the second time with the school uniforms down in the corner, but I figured it out, I got there in the end, And again, the second time was significantly faster. All right. Was that an improvement? I honestly don't remember. Well, it definitely was an improvement. I was a full 6 minutes faster, which is actually one of my biggest improvements in this whole video. All right, I'm gonna do my third speed puzzle of the day. I just went and had lunch and took a little break, but the next one is the last individual quarterfinal. So this was in round F, and this is the one where Alejandro won by like 7 minutes. So if I'm remembering right, what he did was he started from the red in the middle and kind of worked his way out. So I think for this one, when I flip, I'm not even gonna bother pulling edge. I'm just gonna, again, try to do this part first and then end with the big text, which is what it seemed like most people were doing. All right, I think this one is more my style than some of the others, so I'm excited for this one. I think this will be good. I definitely just jinxed myself though. Now it's gonna be bad. 3, 2, 1, go. So I thought that I was gonna like this puzzle. And I did like this puzzle. I jumped right into it with anything red, and the outline around the car mirror was pretty easy to do. So here's where I was at 10 minutes. However, going back to the world's footage, Alejandro had that part much more complete, and he had also separated the entire edge. But then I moved on to the yellow mountains. And at 20 minutes, I was in pretty good shape on that, but at 20 minutes, Alejandro also already has the sky done. So that's the next thing that I moved on to, starting from the lightest part and working my way down. And I loved this sky. I love a good gradient. I finished that at just after 30 minutes. And meanwhile, Alejandro only has the edge and 1 row of pieces left. Here's the point where he finished, but if we scoot over and look at Kelly Walter, I'm not too far behind her. So I finished the entire picture side at 37 minutes, and then I did the solid white pieces and then the edge. Then I could work off of the edge to do the little text, which went in super fast. And then I knew the big text would be the hardest part of the puzzle. And sure enough, just that section took me a full 6 minutes. Oh, that was a fun one. Oh, I liked that a lot. All right, 49:33. I'm really happy with that for a first time solve. And I really liked this puzzle. This was so fun. It might be my favorite of all of the quarterfinal puzzles. But one more time, let's see where I would have placed. Oh, I would have been 9th place. Yeah, I think that's the best so far that I would have placed. I would have been right after Kelly Walter, but 3 minutes slower than her. All right, so this is my last second time solve here in the apartment, since this is the last already released puzzle that I'm going to be covering in this video. And I'll be honest, with this one, I didn't feel like my second time solve was much faster than the first time. I did do it in a slightly different order, but not that different. And so, by 35 minutes, it evened out, and I was in almost exactly the exact same spot. Going from there, I did the rest in exactly the same order, and then I finished at almost exactly the same time. So I'm gonna go through the data in more detail after I finish solving all of the puzzles. But here you can see an overview of all of my times and placements for all 6 quarterfinal puzzles. Postcard from Paris was definitely the fastest, but I honestly liked all of them, except for that Copenhagen puzzle. All right, I'm back. We're on day 3 of doing all these puzzles. I actually took a day off from speed puzzling yesterday just because my whole body was starting to hurt. Like, I needed to spend a day doing things that did not involve leaning over a puzzle or leaning over my computer, but I'm feeling a lot better today. So with all the puzzles that I already did, those were the quarterfinal puzzles, and I would have qualified into the semifinals with every single one. So we have made it to the semifinals. So this is the one that I actually did at the competition. And so, I mean, obviously everything in this video is just speculative. You know, these results are just what I'm doing here in my studio outside of the competition environment. But with this one, it's like especially so because we're moving into the unreleased brand new puzzles. So for all of the original times for these puzzles, none of us had ever seen the image before. We had no idea what we were getting. Oh my God. Ooh, oh fun. Oh, that's gonna be fast. So it was a first time solve for everyone, whereas now this will be my second time solve, and I know what the image looks like and the general placement of each element. So just keep that in mind, like this is just for fun. Mostly, I just want to see if I can beat my time from a year ago when I do it again. So I only did it that one time in the competition. I have not done it again in the year since. So I'm trying not to look too closely. So let's give it a try. Let's see how it goes. I'm excited for this one. I remember liking this one a lot. I think this will be fun. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh no, I got the strings all tangled. All right, so I'm putting this next to my original solve at Worlds last year. And if you remember from the Worlds video, I kept talking about how I was scared or intimidated by all of the blue pieces, and I didn't do those until the end, even though almost everyone else did them first. So this time, I decided to start there after doing the edge. So at 10 minutes, you can see that I'm working on a completely different section. Originally, I had pulled all of the orange and I did that first, but this time I decided to do all of the blue. So it took me until 19 minutes to finish the water, and it's a little hard to compare these solves since I'm working on completely different sections of the puzzle, but I feel like my second solve is just looking a little more organized. But jumping to 33 minutes, this is where Conti finished. And once again, I'm nowhere close. But here's what I think happened. On the second solve, I got a little bit stuck and I slowed down working on the middle of the puzzle, whereas on the first solve, the water was surprisingly easy, so I feel like I just raced through that part. So, at 40 minutes, my two solves have really evened out, and I think I have just about the same number of pieces left. And maybe at home, I just don't have the same sort of adrenaline as the competition, because I actually ended up being just a little bit slower than I did it the first time. Oh no, again. I was a minute slower. How did that happen? Okay, I don't even know. I really thought that all of my second time solves would be faster than my first time solves. But maybe for this puzzle, when I'm not like super familiar with it, maybe that high 40s time is just what my time is. You know, it was pretty similar to my first time solve. I don't even want to know like how many spots down that would have dropped me. I'll look it up later, I'll put it on screen. But for now, I'm gonna move on to the one that I really wanted to solve, which is the other semifinal puzzle, Flowerjungle. Again, I have a little bit of an advantage, although clearly we saw that didn't really make a difference, you know, knowing what it is going into it. But I think this one will be fun. This is very much like my style of puzzle. And this one was really fun too, even though I didn't do it as fast as I maybe thought. I really liked it. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so I just knew that I would definitely like this puzzle. I love the colors, I love being able to sort so easily. I started with the edge and I finished that at about 8.5 minutes. I know that a lot of people at Worlds didn't do the edge first on this one, but I thought that it would help me keep everything contained. So then I did a lot of sorting and I started with the blue flower. I tried the pink flowers in the bottom corner, but I'm glad I gave up on them when I did, because that actually ended up being the hardest part for me. So I actually ended up finishing there. But the other pink flowers were totally doable. And the thing about this puzzle is that as soon as you finish one section, there's another clearly defined color or texture just waiting for you. So I had so much fun doing every single element of this one. So at 30 minutes, you can see that I have most of the biggest flowers done, but even the small flowers and the leaves were unique enough that none of them gave me any trouble, and I really felt like I was just flying through. But Here's where I was at 34 minutes when Mercedes made history by being the first person to beat Alejandro in an individual worlds round. She was so fast. I still had kind of a lot to do. But besides those pink flowers at the bottom, I never really felt stuck, and I really liked this one. Okay, I think that was almost exactly the same time as the last one. I liked that one a lot. That was so fun. Oh my gosh, I loved that one. This is my favorite type of speed puzzle, where it's really colorful, really bright, really clean lines between everything, kind of medium-sized elements that are easy to tell apart. Now, in terms of my time, so I did that in 47:58, and the last one was 47:45. So I did both of them in almost the exact same amount of time. So even though they're different images, they are like equal difficulty. So I think Ravensburger did a really good job at picking those two images for the two semifinals. But now it's time to find out where I would have placed. Oh, okay, well, I'm still scrolling. Okay, never mind. Everyone did this really fast. Okay, that would have put me in 51st place. I still would have qualified, but oh, I thought that would have been a little higher up. Well, I guess all that tells us is that there are a lot of really fast puzzlers in the world. All right, it is time. It is time for me to face my nemesis. So this is the puzzle from the finals of last year's Worlds. And if you remember, this one took me over an hour. I didn't place very well. I didn't like this puzzle at all. But I think trying it here, I might have a few things going for me. Number one, I am, obviously, as I've been saying, more familiar with the image now, so I know what I'm getting into. Also, it's a lot brighter in here because I have all the studio lights on, whereas at Worlds, the final took place at night, so it was kind of dim, especially for all the dark pieces. And also at Worlds, I think I just got super stuck at the very end with all of the dark pieces. I should have shape sorted way earlier than I did. And so now I know that if I do get stuck, now I know that I should just go ahead and shape sort. I don't really want to do this one. Can I just do Flowerjungle again? No, I'm gonna do it. This is a scientific experiment. We need to finish the data. I got this. All I'm going for is, under an hour. And we're off. So going into this one, I was a little tired because it was my third speed puzzle of the day, but I was a lot less tired than after 4 full days of competing and filming. And of course, it was a lot more quiet and calm in the studio. But even still, I finished the edge at almost the exact same time. But then I knew exactly where to start and which pieces to look for, since I knew that the water and the sky would be the easiest part of the puzzle. So by 20 minutes, you can see that I have a lot more done. And by 30 minutes, I had finished pretty much all of the light-colored pieces. But I knew from the first solve that the tigers were really hard, since there were so many of them and they were scattered all across the puzzle. So instead, I actually started filling in more of the dark pieces since I could actually see what was on them this time. It turns out there actually are a lot of different patterns hiding in those dark pieces if you're in a room where it's bright enough to see them. However, at 37 minutes, this is where Kristen finished, and it's become a pattern through this whole video. I'm still nowhere close. But another benefit of doing all of these puzzles at home is that I wasn't hearing the cheering every time another person finished. I know that some people like to wear headphones to block that out, but for the filming and also just my own preference, I don't like doing that. But this time, it was a lot less stressful to not know how much I was or wasn't falling behind. So at 45 minutes, you can see that I'm making a lot more progress and I'm moving a lot faster. I had put in pretty much all of the dark pieces, and I was ending with the tigers, which were a lot easier to just fill in than to start putting them together from nothing. And so I did end up finishing in under an hour. Oh my gosh, just under an hour. Oh wait, no, that's 56, not 59. Okay, well under an hour. Oh, I'm happy with that. Okay. Well, turns out when you can actually see what's happening on the pieces, these puzzles get a lot easier. That felt so much better than the first time I did it. Let's see how much I would have gone up in the ranking if I had done this at the competition. So originally, this took me an hour and 2 minutes, and that was 131st place. But 56.53. I mean, I'm still scrolling quite a lot. Okay, I would have been 94th place. Maybe I didn't raise up quite as much as I thought, but I still would have been in the top 100. Okay, so originally I was also gonna solve all of the nationals puzzles, also in the same video, but I have already edited everything up to this point, and the video is getting so long. So I still want to do a nationals recap since they sent me all of the live stream footage. So I think I'm gonna wait until I do that before I actually solve the puzzles. I am making the executive decision to give myself a break and make this video just about Worlds 2024. And that's kind of why I said at the beginning that I might not do this video again, because the event has just gotten so big. You know, the first year that I covered it, there were 3 semifinals and a final. That's it. I had 4 puzzles to do. But now I did 9 puzzles, plus I did 5 of them twice. And coming up this year, they're expanding it even more. So at Worlds 2025, instead of 6 quarterfinals, they're gonna have 9 quarterfinals. But that's not all. There's also been a big rule change where they're doubling the amount of puzzles. So you know how in the team's qualifying rounds, you get 4 puzzles and then you choose which 2 you want to do? Well, now they're introducing that for the individual and the pairs rounds too. They're gonna give everyone 2 puzzles and then you choose which one you want to solve. So for just the individual quarterfinals, that is 18 puzzles that we're gonna see. And I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna do 18 speed puzzles for one video. Like, I'm just not. So if I do this in the future, I would probably only do the unreleased puzzles plus maybe, a couple of my favorites from the quarterfinals. But since I did do everything this year, we have a lot of good data that we can draw some conclusions from. Okay, I need to issue a correction here. Literally the day before this video was going up, they updated the world schedule on the website and they condensed it down a little. So now they brought it back down to just 6 individual quarterfinals, which is the same as before, but they kept the thing about choosing between 2 puzzles. So we're still gonna see 12 puzzles just in the individual quarterfinals. At this point, when I'm posting this video, we're still about a month out from Worlds, so if you're going, make sure that you keep an eye on the website for any more changes. So there has been a lot of discussion between all of us speed puzzlers about whether it's fair for them to use previously released puzzles that some people will already have done. And I think we can pretty clearly see from my data that if you do the puzzle a year ago, it might not affect your current solve time all that much. But if you do it very recently, you can knock off several minutes, which can result in a pretty significant jump in the placing. And that jump could be the difference between qualifying and not qualifying for the next round. And then the other issue that you add on top of that is that in Spain, where this event takes place, they use the European catalog, which is not always sold in America. And even if you can buy them, they're gonna be pretty expensive to import. In fact, I looked at the European catalog for 2025, mostly focusing on the unbranded 500-piece puzzles that are marked as new. So if you're going to Worlds, screenshot this, study them, because I bet a lot of these puzzles are going to show up in the competition. Now, as you've seen for the past 2 years, right before Worlds, I'm always doing a ton of training. I do a ton of Ravensburger puzzles. Pretty much all of the top puzzlers do this, but it really puts those of us outside of Europe at a disadvantage because the puzzles we're practicing probably aren't going to be the ones that show up at Worlds. To be fair, it is possible to get them. I mean, I have the chameleon one, but this is often through a network of speed puzzlers where one person just swallows the cost and buys them and then passes them around. Or you might have someone trading American puzzles for European ones, and then once the European ones are over here, then we'll pass them around. But if you're just a single person just showing up without really knowing people in the community, it would be very expensive to get your hands on a significant number of these. However, now I need to argue it from the other side, because even as I'm laying that out, I need to acknowledge that this is a hard problem to solve. As much as YouTube commenters might like to think so, there isn't one easy answer. I think it's important to remember that Ravensburger isn't sponsoring these competitions out of the goodness of their hearts. They are a company, and so their ultimate goal is to advertise and to sell puzzles. And they are a big operation with offices in multiple countries, tons of puzzles that need to be scheduled into the factory time and then shipped out all over the world. These competitions are just one part of their business model, so they can't rearrange the entire operation just to make puzzles for this one event. So what are the options? At Nationals 22 and some of the smaller events, they made custom puzzles using their My Ravensburger printing service, which definitely keeps the secrecy. It ensures that no one will have done it before. But if they only make the amount for the competition, it's a lot harder for people outside the competition to ever get them. And then they have to come up with brand new images for all of these puzzles. And that's kind of a waste if they're not then gonna sell them widely. They could use already released puzzles, which is what we've seen. That makes it very easy for at least people in Europe to go out and get them. But as we've already talked about, it's not equal between who could have done them before and who hasn't. So the best option is to do unreleased puzzles that show up at Worlds for the first time, and then after that, they will be available to buy more widely in whichever markets they put them in. And we've seen that they have developed processes to do this. At Worlds 24, they had 8 unreleased puzzles. At this coming Worlds, I believe, if I did my math right, they're gonna do 9 unreleased puzzles. But if you try to add in all of the quarterfinal puzzles across all of the events this coming year, that's gonna be 59 different puzzles. And I just don't think it would be possible to come up with that many new images, give them all production runs, and keep them all a secret. And so something else that we've seen them doing recently is that for these unreleased puzzles, when they make them for Worlds or Nationals, they print them in special boxes with the logo on them. You know, at Nationals this year, every single puzzle was unreleased, and they're now selling them on the Ravensburger US website. But I think the idea, at least for some of the designs, is to give them a wider release later with just a regular box design. And so that seems to work really well. But at Nationals this year, they only had 13 total puzzles, which is a lot less than the 59 we're about to see at Worlds. So I hope I've laid everything out so you can see that there isn't an easy answer. And I actually think Ravensburger has done a really good job at keeping things as fair as possible, coming up with new processes each year to keep working on it. It's just unfortunate that in the early rounds at Worlds, some people might have an advantage if they had done the puzzle before. But I also think there's kind of 2 separate arguments here. There's trying to make it as fair as possible for every single competitor, and then there's trying to make sure that the top puzzlers are on as even a playing field as possible so the winner is chosen fairly. So far, it seems like they're mostly concentrating on the second one, with having the unreleased puzzles for the semifinals and the finals. And so, some people have argued that the top puzzlers will get through the quarterfinals regardless. This really doesn't affect the people at the top, since they're definitely going to make it through. The people this is affecting are the people right on the edge of qualifying or not qualifying. And you can definitely sit there and be like, oh, this is silly, it's just a puzzle competition. But if you don't live locally, this is a big international trip. It's a week-long, expensive trip that people really put a lot of time and effort and money and energy into. So it's really unfortunate if someone gets cut for factors beyond their control, like if the person next to them had done the puzzle before. But I also just want to point out, nothing in this competition is ever going to be completely fair. Some people have to deal with time zone changes. Some people are competing at night where it's darker and, you know, they might not see as well in the dark. Some people could be a morning person versus a night person, and your event could take place at any point during the day. Of course, there's the country rule, which I have talked about at length on here before. Just the fact that different rounds get different images means that one person might be better at photos and get an illustration, or vice versa. And I've talked a lot about America versus Europe, but there are plenty of countries where you can barely get Ravensburger puzzles at all. And so being unfamiliar with the Ravensburger piece cut is also a pretty big disadvantage. So I think it's definitely worthwhile to keep having these discussions, keep coming up with more ideas of how to make it as fair as possible. One idea that I had, and I have no idea if this is actually going to happen, but with getting 2 puzzles to pick from, what if one was from the European catalog and one was from the American catalog? Or what if one was a photo and one was an illustration? Or, now I know that a lot of people have really been studying the Ravensburger piece cut. Some people practice so much that they essentially have the entire piece cut memorized. But what if they used the square puzzles with a different piece cut? Or what if they debuted a brand new piece cut for some of the unreleased puzzles? That would definitely mix things up, and it would open up a whole new discussion about what is or isn't fair. Anyway, after all of that, let's go back, let's wrap up the data from the 2024 puzzles. So my fastest solve was my last attempt on Postcard from Paris, but, and I'm really proud of this, the first tiger solve was the only one that took me over an hour. Then you can see what place I would have gotten from each of my times, and it makes sense that the semifinals and the final are down at the bottom, since those are a lot tougher competition. Oh, so then, Katie helped me with this one. You can see the percentage that I improved or got slower. So this is more of a normalized ranking from my first to my second attempt. So I improved the most with Spy Family and Hello Vinyl. I knocked 10% off of my solve time. And finally, if we add up all of my times, including the ones from last year, I spent 15 hours, 26 minutes, and 11 seconds doing all of these puzzles over and over, just so we could have all of this data. Okay, so I think it's time to announce that even after all of that practice, I'm not gonna be going to Worlds this year. Some of you may have already suspected this, because you can go online and look at the website and see exactly who has signed up. There are a lot of reasons why I decided to skip this year. I might get into it another time, but I'm really looking forward to watching the live streams. I mean, with how much they've expanded the schedule and the whole thing of picking between 2 puzzles, I really am curious how this is all gonna play out. Oh, and also, Kristen announced a little while ago that she's also not going this year. So either Yana or Alejandro will win again, or we're gonna have a brand new world champion. So if you want to tune in, I'll have the live stream info right down below. I'm also gonna link the last 2 times that I did this video. You know, if you want even more speedrun data, let me know down in the comments which puzzle was your favorite. Your code word for the comments will be tiger, and I'll see you all in the next one.